Good afternoon, my art fiends. Today we are going to play with some watercolors. And again, if you don't have watercolors, markers and color pencils will do. We're going to paint some flowers today because I bought flowers and they're one of my favorite ways to brighten up my house. So we're gonna do some loose watercolor flowers, and kind of like when we did plein air, we are not going to sketch out beforehand. So I'm going to start with my biggest flower and then I'm going to build off of that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some little, kind of make it look like a fan. And it doesn't have to be, completely perfect, because this is just kind of a sketchy little watercolor. And I'm gonna make mine really wet because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add some more colors into it. I'm gonna take a little bit of red. Because flower petals have all sorts of different colors in them. And I'm just going to touch some certain spots with this darker color. And whenever you make your watercolors really wet, it makes it easier to add more color onto it. And it kind of blends in a little bit. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep building on this flower, and I'm going to make a bold swoop, we'll call it that. And right now they look like just blobs of shapes. I'm going to make some parts darker, and I'm going to add a little bit of orange because I can. Okay, and now let's make a purplish petal. There's our purple petal. And right now it's still looking like blobs, but it'll come together. Let's make a big swoop out this way. I guess we can call these peonies. That's how Martha Stewart pronounces peonies. I think it's a southern thing to say peonies. I could be wrong. I don't know. I grew up saying peonies. So that's what I'm going to call them. But you can call it whatever you want. Add some darker purple in here. And I'm going to start to kind of blend some of this color down so it looks like it's all part of the same flower. Add some more of that. And with watercolors, you want to build on top of it. And what that means is you don't pick your boldest color first. You start with a soft color and then you keep adding darker colors into it to give it extra depth. And what I'm going to do is I want a really soft pink. So let's do this. I'm going to grab a little bit of my white. It also has a little bit of orange in it, but that'll be just fine. Grab a little bit of my pink. There we go. And I'm going to make a softer peachy pink over here. Now, if you were not able to get your mom anything for Mother's Day, this could make a great little Mother's Day gift. Because like I said before, I got myself some flowers, and flowers are one of my favorite things to keep in the house. Now, let's let this dry for a bit, and we're gonna add more stuff into it, but we need to let it dry. So let's go ahead and add another flower, and we're gonna make kind of a daisy, I guess. Maybe a Gerber daisy. So for this, the petals are gonna be a little bit more uniform. They're gonna kind of have more sense to them right out the gate. So I started off with a really soft color. Now I'm just gonna keep building on top of it. I want it to have some orange in it, well, really peach. So I'm gonna make some peach over here, and going to add a few little extra petals. And again, right now it looks a little splotchy, but we're just gonna keep adding to it. And that's one of the great things about watercolors, is you can just move all over your page and let parts dry, and then come back and rework them. Okay, so I added some pinks in here on top of my peach. And we're gonna let it dry, and then we'll put the center in there. So now, let's start adding some greenery. I'm gonna take a soft green first. And I keep my watercolors pretty wet, because that way I can just keep building on top of them. And I think when I did the plein air explanation, I did everything all around my palette. I just move all around my palette. So to make a leaf, it's going to be an oval. Well, not necessarily an oval. I turned it into a whole different shape, but it looks kind of like a leaf. I'm going to do the same thing right here. Now let's get a little bit darker. And I'm going to put, we'll call these eucalyptus leaves. My bouquet had eucalyptus leaves in it. There we go. And again, this is all very, very loose. You know, we'll call it impressionist style. Let's take another dark, well, medium green. We'll call it a medium green. A little bit dark. Mix it in with my light green. Okay. Now, let's add some shorter looking leaves. We want leaves of all different sizes. I'm using a different kind of paper today. It is a cotton hot press. And that means that it soaks up my watercolors differently. I like to play around with different materials. Okay, let's get a real dark green. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna add kind of like some stems. This is starting to look very Matisse style. I love Henri Matisse. I watched a wonderful documentary about him and this nun that he was friends with. And I cannot remember the name of the documentary. It's been a long time. But it was on Netflix and I loved it. All right, let's go back to our peony here. What we're gonna do is we're just gonna make some more bold petals and we're gonna layer them on top of what we've already done. So for these petals, we're gonna start making them a little bit smaller. And it looks like I'm gonna have to go a little bit darker. So I'm gonna reach over here to my other palette, see if I can find just the right one. Here we go. Get this real dark purple. I'm gonna put it over here with this. I'm just gonna keep making it darker and darker until I get it just right. Now let's add some of this pink over here with this orange. We're gonna put it here in the background just a bit. And I like to leave little random spots of white, just for fun. But you can cover it up if you want. Put that over top. Maybe even make it a little longer. Make that petal come down. Okay. Let's go dark again. There we go. Let's see if that works. Okay. Since it's very similar to this other dark one I've got here, I'm going to work my way around it. Make it come behind just a little bit. And then I'm going to kind of go through and add some more little darkened details on the petals I've already made. Because again, with watercolor, you can just keep building. So now that that's kind of dry, I can add some of my other color onto it. And I think I'm gonna make it go just a little bit taller. And that's what I like about this style is you're not necessarily having a plan. Just kind of go with it. I'm gonna make some squiggles, I guess. I should probably learn the names to these techniques. And let's add another dark one right here. Okay. Kind of make them come together just a bit. Okay. Now this one over here looks a little too pale now, so let's darken it up just a bit. And I suppose this is how you, I don't know, I don't want to call it a mistake, but this is how you can keep adding to it instead of having to erase things. There we go, that's what I'm trying to say. You don't have to erase something, you just keep going on top of it until it looks right. Sometimes you have to walk away from it because you overworked it and overthought it, and that's when it stops being fun. Okay, I think I'm gonna let that rest now. Let's finish the daisy. Now for the daisy, we're going to find a really good orange. And remember, we're gonna start off kind of light. I want my orange to have a little bit of green in it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the tip of our brush and we're just gonna dot. Just like that. And we're gonna let it dry for a second. And while that's doing that, let's make a little bit more peach. It's a little too pink. Let's see. Yeah, my palette's a mess, but it gives me all sorts of fun colors. Here we go. Here's a little bit of orange. What happens is I don't have the patience to wait for this palette to dry, and I wind up closing it, and then it spills everywhere. Okay. I'm just making some lines straight out. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to make this daisy a little bit bigger. So I've got my smaller Koi brand palette over here. Let's, oh, there we go. Now to make a good peach, you take a little bit of white and a little bit of orange, and sometimes just a few touches of pink. I'm just going to keep building. And what's going to happen is I'm going to let it dry a little bit, and then I will add a little bit more detail so it look more like daisy leaves. And let me go ahead and add some of this pink down here so it looks kind of the same. Okay, so we'll let it dry. Let's go back to our leaves. Like I said, this is my favorite part of watercolor. Because I can work on one spot, and then leave it alone, and then come back to it. Okay. Let's get some more dark. I kind of want a Kelly green. I call it Kelly green because of Grace Kelly. She always wore the most perfect green, and green's my favorite color, so we're just gonna add a lot of green. I'm gonna make some small leaves. And I'm going to build a little bit right over here. I'm going to make a sprig. I don't know what it's a sprig of, but we're going to make a sprig. Sprig is kind of a wispy branch. And I'm going to do the same thing over here. Make another little sprig with a darker green. And these leaves are just kind of random. I'm just gonna add because it's fun. And I want that to dry a little bit more, so let's find a yellow. I'm gonna go with this, don't want to call it full mustard, but it's pretty mustardy. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna tap my brush down in a couple of different directions. And it's gonna be kind of a different flower. I have no idea what kind of flower it would be, but I'm adding it. You just kind of tap your brush around with the yellow. You're filling any spots you want to fill in. Okay, let's see if our daisy is ready for some more stuff. Now I'm using the exact same brush for all of this because that's what I like to do. But if you feel comfortable, you can grab a smaller brush for these details. I'm just gonna kind of add to it. Make these petals come up a little bit over our center there. Okay. We'll let that sit. And I'm gonna add my final details to my peony. I'm gonna take some of my dark pink, fuchsia, I guess. I'm going to go over a few of these leaves, or petals. And let's grab a darker purple. And once everything kind of dries, it makes it a little easier to see where you want to add stuff and see how to make something a little more bold. Now that I've got that going, I see that I kind of want to add a little smaller petal right here. So I'm going to get out my dark fuchsia. Just kind of keep adding a few little random spots of bold color just to make everything stand out a little bit better. And I'm gonna add some of my orangey pink into this one. And add it to this one. We're just gonna add just a few little, I don't know, flicks of the brush. Okay, well, I think I am done with mine, and I hope you enjoyed this. It's a little bit of a loose style, and I thoroughly enjoy it. I find it very relaxing, so I hope you did too, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. I'll see you next time.